Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stefan's podcast, the only podcast for everything Japanese news and what's going on in the big wide world of Toshima. Hope you're having an absolutely lovely day. We have got some great news stories for you, so let's jump straight into them. The first news story is Japan ranks third worst place for working women in 2024. Now, this, I will say, when they say world's worst, it isn't world's worst. The article is world's worst among developed nations, but that is a bit of a mouthful and doesn't quite catch the headline. So it's world's worst amongst developed nations, and they have factored in a load of different things to create this ranking. So The Economist did this ranking, and they factored in things like higher education, labor force participation, pay gaps, childcare costs, parental leave policies, and representation in senior roles. Japan ranked among the lowest, indicating significant challenges for working women in the country. Now, the other two in the bottom two places were Korea and Turkey. So a bit of a mix. South Korea. I mean, I will say South Korea and Japan are notorious for very, very hardworking people, low hours. So this isn't just women. It's just, I think Japan is difficult to work in. Korea is also difficult to work in, from what I've heard. And I will say that it is even harder if you're a woman here. It certainly is. They have to do a lot more things that guys don't have to do. I'll give an example. I went to a a work party. Anyway, I went to a work party, and this hasn't happened at all of the ones that I've been to, but the specific one that I went to, all the women were going around and pouring the drinks for the men, which none of the guys were doing. It was only the women doing this. And I was trying to tell them, like, guys, just relax, sit down, enjoy the meal, enjoy having fun at the time. And they're like, no, this is what we have to do. This is expected of us. And I was kind of like, this is a work party. This is meant to be relaxing time for everyone, not just for the guys. It doesn't make sense. But they also have a lot more issues when it comes to things like sexual harassment. A lot of sexual harassment in Japan goes unreported as well, which is a bit of a problem. And there is still a lot of sexual discrimination in Japan. There still is. I will say it's getting better. It's getting better. And even in the article, they talked about how Japan is improving in some places. So hopefully, who knows, in the next few years, it can get better. I mean, really, it can only get better. It can only go up, can't it? Well, actually, that's a lie. There's two spaces for it to go down. One of the places that they made a real improvement on is apparently female representation in politics, which has gone up. Yes, it's gone up to 16%, which is still pretty low. In Britain, it is up from... Yeah, here in Britain, it's gone up from 35% to 41% in the last year, and in Japan, it's gone up to 16%. So still particularly low, and hopefully in the next few years that can just come up a little bit. 41% in Britain. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I wonder when does it start to become max, because a lot of women, I mean, guys are doing it now, are taking childcare roles, looking after children. So, 41%. Good job, Britain. Good job. But 16% is very, 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 very low, and I hope it comes up. One area that Japan and South Korea are apparently doing very well in is they have very generous maternity and paternity leave. This is what the article here says. I have no idea when it comes to Japan what their maternity leave is, if it's good or if it's Japan. But they also say they offer generous paternity leave, but very few people in Japan take these paternity things, and if you do take it in Japan, there can be a lot of stigma for taking it. You can get passed over for promotions in the future if you take it. There's a weird thing about it, because I have known one person in Japan who's had a child, a young guy, and I said, did you take paternity? Actually, no. There's been a few people who I've asked when they had children, did they take paternity? And all the guys are like, no, absolutely not. I didn't. No. And I'm like, wow, why not? Just take it. Take it. It's your life. It's your baby. You're only going to have this opportunity once. You've got to do it. But in Japan, it's not liked for some reason. And I mean, even in the UK, I've seen things there's that guy on TikTok who's like a HR. I have no idea what his actual job is, but he watches videos and email complaints about people's bosses and policies. And one of them was about a dad taking his paternity leave, and the boss was just kept saying him to like, "Oh, are you still working for us?" And just making insults about him being a mother, being a woman, and things like that. And it's like, come on, dude, it's paternity leave. Just take it, enjoy the fun time with your kid. You're only going to get it once or maybe twice if you're lucky. I mean, even if you're one of these people who have kids all the time, it goes by like that. And the thing is, the babies only stay babies for such a short period of time. And once it's gone, you never get that back. And that is the horrible thing. I mean, being a teacher here, you really see how quickly children grow up. And some of them, they can just grow almost overnight like that. I was walking in town and saw an old student in the shopping supermarket, and the kid in 6 months has grown like 2 feet. He's giant now, and it's like, whoa! I remember you when you were like down here, and that's only 1 or 2 years. It's crazy. Honestly, you get an opportunity to spend time with your kids. Absolutely do it. Oh man, you got to. You're only going to get it once. Only going to get it once. I certainly, if I have children, will try and take full paternity. Hopefully that'd be very, very nice. My dream certainly is that. But next news story coming on for you. Oh, we got some teaching ones here, staying on here. Japan are looking, this is a really cool story and interesting if you're a teacher in Japan like me. A city in East Japan is to introduce assistant English teachers. So I assume this is ALTs. It just says assistant English teachers at all kindergartens and daycare places in Japan. So this is in Ibaraki Prefecture. Sorry if I butchered the name. I'm absolutely awful at pronouncing Japanese cities and places. Yes, yeah. They're looking at introducing foreign ALTs in all the kindergartens, which is really good. I actually teach here in a kindergarten very, very rarely. It's really rare. It's like once every 2 months I go in and do a lesson. And I think this is a really good idea. The sooner they start learning English, the better. It really, really is. I mean, I just would love for it to, when they get out of junior high school, for their level to be just a little bit higher than when they are now, because they are at a weird place and there's such a difference in some of the students' abilities when it comes to English when they finish junior high school. It really, the classes, I think, don't necessarily work, especially if I can't even imagine what it's like if you're teaching 40 kids. Just the difference in abilities in English is just night and day. It's not like any other subjects like science, maths. I mean, the difference in a good student and a bad student is off the chart. I mean, you'll have some kids who can barely write their own name in English in junior high school, and then you'll have kids who are speaking to me almost fluently. They're understanding the stuff that I do. I can have full conversations with them, and then you just have just bottom of the barrel. It's probably the subject that has the most differences in level of all subjects in the education system. It really is, because you are either there seems to be no in the middle of English ability. It's either you are pretty poor or you are just fantastic, and that middle just doesn't exist. It's really weird, really, really weird. But I think this is great. The more English they learn, the earlier they learn it, it's going to be great. This is really good policy. I love this. I hope that they get more English lessons. I would love to, for even in the elementary schools here. So there's this weird like gap where ALTs here don't start teaching English until 3rd grade. That's where you start to do the English lessons. But I'd love if that went down to the 1st grade and then started teaching like what we teach in 3rd grade into 1st grade, because I think they can learn the stuff that we're teaching them. It's not complicated. In 3rd year English, it's like, this is a pen. Is it even that high? Yeah, it's really, really basic stuff. It's like pen, apple. Oh, hello, my name is, I like nanny nanny. Yeah, it's stuff that they can learn. I think ski desk, that's pretty easy. First graders can learn that. I've had the joy of having to have lunch with some of the first grade kids, and they're very cute, very fun. Great experience to have lunch with them. Would be fun to teach them. Would be fun. They have a lot of energy. Let me tell you that. I don't know if I can bring that much energy every day. They are a handful. But that's a nice story. But we're going to stay with teaching here, and there's an article which just made me think about this. In Japan, they have these traditional backpacks that they wear to elementary school. These are called randorasu, and you might have seen them in the animes or the mangas. They're these like backpacks which look almost perfectly like a square, and the lid sort of goes round it. And they're saying that the picking off girls has changed. Whereas before the favourite colours used to be like pink and very girly colours, now these are changing to green tones. Green tones have become more popular. But the reason I bring up this article is I didn't realise how expensive these backpacks are. So these backpacks can run anywhere up to going bottom to top. They can go for like 100,000 yen, which is $1,000 or £1,000, getting up there, to sort of like 100 to 200, depending if you're getting like secondhand ones. And it is a kind of tradition in Japan that apparently the grandparents will buy these backpacks as kind of like a tradition that says, if I give this to you, you're going to study and you're going to do hard. You're going to do well. And I tell you what, at $1,000 or £1,000 for a backpack, oh, let me tell you, that kid better be studying every day. There is not a minute where they're not going to be studying. It's such a weird thing. $1,000 for a backpack is not worth it. It's crazy. And this is where sometimes you see in Japan, I call it almost like the keeping up with the Joneses effects, where one family does this and then another one does it, and then it becomes like this tradition in Japan, and everyone is spending this money, and it's like, well, no, I have to keep up with the Joneses. They did it, so I have to do it. And it $1,000 for backpacks. I mean, I think whoever are selling these backpacks are great business people, because the fact that they are cashing in on it is just fantastic. That is beautiful. Good for them. Good for their economy. $1,000 for a backpack. I don't think the only thing I've ever spent more than $1,000 on for me is a laptop, a car, and I once bought a smartphone. I bought my phone, but I don't think that was £1,000 or $1,000. I think that was about 800. So those are my biggest expenses ever, is a car, a laptop, and a phone. And they have a leather backpack, which is the same price as that. Oh, that is crazy. Can you imagine if they lose it as well, or if it gets damaged? Oh man, $1,000 just down the drain. I couldn't have been given $1,000 backpack as a kid. I was a monster. That would have been kicked across the playground. Oh man, no way. No way. Absolutely not. $1,000. No way. My mum and dad would struggle to give me a I don't know, $50 backpack to school. I'd destroy it. I was a little terror. I certainly was. Next news story for you is, we're staying on sort of education. We're getting into graduates now. Moving up from elementary school right up. Ooh, something's going on here. I don't know if we've got a tsunami. Whoa. I think this is a test. I'm going to pause this. We're going to be right back. Seems to be some sort of, don't know if it's a warning or what. We shall be back. Okay, sorry about that. I think there's a fire somewhere in the island, so That's why the siren went off. Sounds like it's pretty close to here. So if I have to end the podcast very quickly, or actually, to be honest, if the house burns down, you'll probably never see this footage because the camera will burn down. If it's made it up, it means I'm alive, and that's fantastic. So the next Japanese news story was about graduates, and we're talking about what's an interesting thing about Japan is, can we hire your child? More Japanese firms are seeking parents okay for a student to have a job. So what they're doing is basically when they're offering these students jobs, they are also going to the parents and asking them like, hey, can we employ your child? And apparently the parents in Japan are really liking this. It's one of the things that they think is absolutely fantastic. And they have one company that does this, which operates job information, said that it found that 45.2% of parents had been approached by companies asking if it was all right for their child to join the company. So that's almost 50%. That is, wow, crazy. Apparently 17.6% of parents had received invitations to company ceremonies for prospective employees or for those who have just been joined as new recruits. Really, really strange. We would never do this in the UK. I've never heard of a parent ever getting asked if their son or daughter can come and work for them. Really, really new thing. I have never heard of this before reading this article. I didn't even know that this was a thing in Japan. And it's interesting. What do you think? I think it's kind of strange. I think at 21, which is when you sort of finish university. I don't know how long the Japanese university system is, if it's a year extra like the American systems. But if it is, that means you're 22 and an employer is coming to ask your parents if we can employ your child. I don't like it. I think it's a bit weird. Once you get to 18, you should sort of be able to make your own decisions in life. You don't need your mum and dad hanging around them. Sure, I mean, of course, as sort of a teenager or someone who is 21, asking your parents, myself, if you go in like, hey, what do you think of this company? Do you think it's good? Should I work for them? That's fair enough. You, of course, might need a little bit of guidance from your parents. But the actual employer going to ask you if you can join, yeah, I think it's strange. But interesting things, that the parents of this seem to like it, so more for them. Good for that. And this leads on to our next story, which they've used. This is the crazy thing about this. The Mainichi, who have reported this story, let me see how long after. Oh, can you still hear the sirens in the background from the fire that's going on? It sounds like it's pretty close to us, to me, I should say. So hopefully they don't get any closer, because if they do, then we're going to be in trouble, let me tell you that. I've got one more. Can I hire a child? Nope, this one. This article here. It's pretty close, very, very close. I hope we don't find the buildings burnt down. If we do, we're going to take the camera and we're going to turn this into a vlog. Wouldn't that be exciting? So the story is this. So you had the one story printed March 9th. This is this is hilarious. Okay, so on March 8th, the Mainichi printed this news story saying, "Can we hire your child? More Japanese firms seeking parents okay for student job offers." On March 9th, the day after, the next headline is job hunting students continue to face sexual harassment in Japan. And they have used the exact same picture for the... is it the exact same? No, it's not. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I thought they'd used the exact same picture. But it looks like... they look so similar. They're at a... file from job fair in Chiba. They're not the same picture. I would have thought that was hilarious if they had reused the same picture. They've used two very similar pictures where it's just pictures of like a job fair, of like a student job fair, which is fair enough. I mean, they probably got all this archive footage from it, but when I first saw the article, the pictures look so similar that I thought they'd use the same one. They haven't done this, but the story the next day, unfortunately, was job hunting students continue to face sexual harassment in Japan. And it was like, okay, I'm beginning to see why these graduate companies are beginning to ask the parents if they can come and work for them. I'm not sure if this this is almost a comedy written. Japan sometimes with sexual harassment is so bad. It's tough out there for the. It really is. I've heard so many stories of sexual harassment in Japan, way more than in the UK. I'm not that I'm saying it doesn't happen in the UK. It definitely does happen in the UK, but it's way, way higher here. I feel like in the UK as well, we're better at reporting it. In Japan, there still seems to be a sort of stigma to reporting it. I've known people who have just gone about their daily life. There was someone who I knew who was on a bus recently. This is 6 months ago. Obviously this isn't working, but this is sexual harassment. They're on a bus and they fell asleep and they woke up to some old guy sitting next to them with the guy's hand in her like jean pocket. And I said to her, okay, so you should report this, you should do something. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do anything. And I was like, did you confront the man? Did you do anything? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, this is not good. This is why it's horrible that's happened to her. And it's even worse that this creep is still out there just doing nothing. It's not good. And there are a lot of stories like this where people on subways, trains, things like that. In the workplace, I've known people, luckily, I've known people here who have told me stories of sexual harassment. It's not great. It's not great. It really isn't. But I just found it funny that one day they're asking the parents if their kids can come and work to us, and the next day job hunting students have sexual harassment. It's like, what are these companies going to ask the mum and dad? What services are they providing? I don't like it. Hey, can your kid come and work for my company? Ugh, gross. Absolutely gross. Not cool. But life unfortunately is a comedy. A tragedy. Is it tragedy? Life is a tragedy. Maybe, and tragedies are always a comedies. I don't know what the quote is, but it's gross. But let's get off this and move on to some good stories. We're moving on to islands now because I'm from Tsushima, and sometimes I like to talk about things that go on the islands. Now, these the islands that they're talking about, a little bit less populated than Tsushima, or at least Izahara. There's such a big difference because Tsushima is so big of an island, or archipelago technically, that there's a huge difference between living in the bottom of Tsushima than there is living in the top of Tsushima. The bottom of Tsushima is very lucky, and they are almost a normal town city, like you would have on the mainland. It's not quite. There's still a lot of differences. There's a lot of shops that you don't have, but I would say it's almost as close as you can get to it. It's pretty close. But the top of the island where I used to live, big difference. That everything is inconvenient there. It's like how can I say this? It's like living in the middle of nowhere times 10, because yes, we have these things in Tsushima, but they're a 2-hour drive away. If you live in the top, a lot of the stuff that you need, like if you want to go shopping, you definitely need to drive 2 hours, and then you can drive those 2 hours and still not find the thing that you're looking for, and find, oh, I actually need to go off the mainland and do this. But one big thing that is in the bottom of the island, which is not in the top, is convenience stores. And they're saying how convenience stores are becoming essential in rural Japan amid depopulation. So they have all the essentials that you need to essentially live on. And in a lot of places, they don't have supermarkets, or the supermarket's closing. This little shop's closing. I don't know. Some of these convenience stores also have like Daiso mixed in with them. And it's funny finding the things that you actually need to live on your day-to-day are like a Daiso. All these weird little tiny things that you can buy for 100 yen, like, I don't know, nail clippers or a sewing kit. And they have some just these useful stuff that you don't even think about buying when you live in a popular area, because you just go in and buy it. When you have to drive like 2 hours, or you have to order it online, it's such a big difference. And these convenience stores, when they have all these like small essential stuff, I can see how they say they're becoming really popular. And also, when I lived at the top of the island and coming down and going to like a Family Mart or a Lawson's, they made you feel like even here in Toshima, it makes you feel like you live in not so rural place. Like in the top, there's no convenience stores, and when I was leaving, the times for the shopping opening was getting less and less and less. So in the main town, which is Hitataksu, there's a main little supermarket that closes really early, and when I left, they just changed their opening time. So I think maybe it was 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. It went down, so maybe it was about 7 or 8 p.m. 8 p.m. they closed that, and that was a very small supermarket. In fact, no bigger than a convenience store. Imagine a big convenience store. That was the size of it. And then there was another supermarket which was about a 10-minute drive away, and that was next to like a building material place. So like in the UK, a B&Q. What was the one in America? The very, very big one. Home Depot. Almost like a very small Home Depot and a B&Q home base in the UK. So those two were next to each other. And then after you got away from those two stores, and there was a pharmacy as well. And after you got away from those two stores, the closest supermarket, like a Tesco, is a hour. I'm trying to think how far away it is. Yeah, at least an hour's drive away. And sometimes that supermarket, if there was bad weather or something, they would just run out of such stuff. So they just wouldn't have, like, I don't know, bacon or eggs or something. And it would happen every now and again, especially if there was bad weather, if, like the typhoon season, because the ships wouldn't be able to come to the island for like a week. You would just find like it was out of stuff. And also, this is another thing, because there was only really one supermarket and like that little one in the middle of the town I told you about, they could charge whatever they wanted. And let me tell you, sometimes some of the prices it was literally, I'd get so mad. I'd drive to see my friends down at the bottom of the island, and I'd be like, the supermarkets here, because there's 2 or 3 of them, they couldn't charge quite what they wanted. Some of the stuff's a little bit expensive, but they couldn't charge like ridiculous prices. Like the big one was always for me a pineapple. I would come down to the bottom of the island, buy pineapples, because they would be about 300-400 yen here at the bottom of the island. In the top of the island, it would be 800 yen for a pineapple. And every time, it's just one of those things that used to irritate me the most. Every time I went to the supermarket, I'd look at the pineapples, it'd be like 800 yen. 800 yen for a single pineapple. At the bottom, they're 400. And there would be things like that all in the north. So let me tell you, a like big convenience store like Family Mart, Lawson's, where hopefully their prices are set at a like corporate level, so all of the prices are set the same on an island. Oh man, that's fantastic. It really is. These convenience stores on the island are great. The ones here, Lawson's, Family Mart, I cannot shout them enough. And especially, I just feel so lucky to have in Toshima not only one, but 2 24 hours shops in a place that maybe has a 10,000 population, but they're busy. That's the thing, because they're the only place that's open. They normally have 2 or 3 people in there whenever I go in, and I've stumbled in there late, like I don't know, 4, 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's always people in there. So it shows that they're good. They really are. And this article came up saying convenience stores in rural Japan are becoming essential. They really are essential. They are fantastic, and it just I can't tell you the difference having a 24-hour convenience store has made living in the top of Toshima and then living down here. It's just great, absolutely great. I cannot praise the Family Mart enough. We also have a Lawson's here, but it's sort of on the wrong side of town for me, so I don't go to it as much. I should do, really, because they have different things, but I'm a creature of habit. But it's certainly true. And sounds like there's no more fire alarms, so hopefully we're safe. But the next news story for you is about disasters, and I thought this is really cool. Japan's small islands communities prepare to ride out disasters alone. So Japan has more than 400 small inhabited islands. I think probably Tsushima would be not in this class. We're just a little bit bigger than this. They're saying of people who these islands that have about 600 or less inhabitants, how they plan to survive a disaster, because obviously they will be considered sort of the last people who's going to get support, because let's say Fukuoka is smashed, destroyed, Nagasaki is destroyed in some big earthquake, tsunami, whatever. The islands then need to be able to survive by themselves, and they're looking at how do they do this, what food, what measures do they do, and even the fact that some of these islands are so low to the ground, a tsunami comes and destroys it. How do they evacuate the elderly? Where do they go? What do they do? It's really, really interesting article, something that you should definitely read about if you are planning to come to Japan or move to Japan, and just see this different way of life that you have to worry about. I mean, coming from the UK, we don't even have to think about disasters, man. There's nothing. It really is. The fact that we in Japan have to have so many, I mean, just like that, there's a fire going on, and the speakers systems all around is so connected because of these disasters. I mean, you look where we are here. We got tsunamis that could hit us. We're probably too far away from things like the volcanoes, but in the mainland of Japan, you got tsunami, volcano, earthquakes, typhoons, which is another big one, which, I mean, didn't even think about. We got Mr. Kim sitting in the north firing off rockets, which apparently there's a special alarm system for that if that happens here. I mean, oh my God, they got so much going on. It really is. But definitely give the article a read. They also were, I'm not sure if this was in the article or someone just commented on it saying how drones in the future could make a big difference to this. And it was funny because I was looking at like commercial drones, and you look at the range on some of them, and I was going like, wow, that's really cool. I could technically get a drone, film like Busan, and then fly it all the way back here, and the range would probably just about making it. And then you start to think like, wait, what if criminals could start doing that, and you like come up with an enterprise, and you're like, oh wait, what if you then actually just started using this for trade, for post? Imagine if Tsushima needed something urgently, they could fly it over. A big one, interestingly enough, is shipping, where this has worked. Some people who are out at sea, a boat needs a part desperately to keep the boat going. Some people are now using drones to fly these specialist parts out to them. They'll drop it off, have a like drone charger or something inside, so that the crew can then charge the drone up, and then the drone can fly all the way back. Or they will keep the drone, and once they get back onto land, like post the drone back or something like that. I love it. I think this is where, when I see stories like this, technology is moving forward so good. It's great. But how do these small islands survive in a disaster? They need to have a lot of food supplies, and they need to have a good place to go. They need to have like a place that's high up, especially in tsunamis, because high is good. That's all. That's basically when it comes to your disaster training. When you move out to Japan, it's like, oh, there's a big disaster. Get somewhere high, and it's like, anything else we should do? Oh yeah, you should have a bag with stuff in it. And it's like, okay, is there anything else I can do? That's about it. And it's like, oh, if there's a disaster, you just have to hope that you're in the right place at the right time. Let me tell you that. I feel good living in working in schools, because generally the schools are like the evacuation centres, and they're sort of the highest points in all the towns. So that gives you a little bit of a comfort, where if perhaps I was working right by the coast at the bottom, I'd be always nervous about it. I mean, that's what when the sirens went off, I thought we were having a tsunami or an earthquake or something. But I get earthquake alerts on my phone, so when that didn't come up, I was like, oh, that's weird. It's weird. It's gone off. And then we hear, oh no, it is actually a fire. It sounds like a fire anyway. But moving on to the next news story for you. Japanese companies are facing a staff shortage, which they say, and this isn't the first time that I've read about Japanese shortage in staffs, but apparently it's hitting full-time workers, and it's at the worst level since COVID. And apparently 50 53.4% of people surveyed, and they surveyed a lot of people. 11,000 companies who responded to the survey. That's a lot of companies. It really is. That's got to be across a wide range of places. That 53% said they need more full-time workers, and it's the highest since April 2020, which was 53.9. So wow, really, really close. The places where people are lacking were, I'm trying to see, there was a couple of industries that were really hit by it. Transport is one of them. Transport was one of them. Feeling... labor unions. No, it doesn't say in this article, unfortunately. The big one was transport, and I think engineers was another one. So if you're looking for engineering jobs in Japan, hey, hopefully come over. The only thing is the salaries, especially if you're in the US, trying to compete with a US salary in Japan, very, very difficult. I've heard a lot of people complain about Japanese salary compared to the US. But who knows, if you're in the right industry and you can speak Japanese, make that money, baby. Come to Japan. I know at the beginning of the podcast, I said about how Japan's working policy is difficult. But if you're hardworking and that's the sort of industry you want to be in, Japan might be the place for you, especially if you're already in one of these industries where you work hard, where you're used to doing 60 hours. Hopefully you come to Japan and you'll be used to it. But it is difficult. I mean, if you're coming from the UK, we just have so many more working rights compared to America and Japan. There is a big difference, a big difference, especially in like vacation and things like that. But hey, they're supposedly looking for work. That's good. Good for people looking for work. Maybe good for people who want to move to Japan. Who knows? But speaking of people who want to move to Japan, Japan's counterfeiting has increased. Japan's counterfeit imports have increased by 4.3%. A record 33,000. So Japan's custom has uncovered a record 33,000 cases of importing products infringing on intellectual property rights. And apparently the country that's shipping them, no surprise, is China is the largest with 80% of them, followed by 9% from Vietnam and 3% from Malaysia. So the other ones must just be a few countries. Of course, Vietnam, they produce a lot of clothes, a lot of things. I was surprised when maybe 5 years ago when I was looking at all the tags of what my stuff is, that a lot of it was coming from Vietnam. I'm really surprised. But the biggest portion of it is clothes, and then bags, and then 20% of it is tobacco and smoking related products, which seems a surprising thing to me. I can understand it in the UK because cigarettes are so expensive in the UK. I have no idea how much a pack is in the UK now, but I think they're getting close to £20 a pack? Is that right? Maybe 10 to £20? Is that right? Here in Japan, you can buy a pack of cigarettes for 500 yen, and that's pretty much across the board, I think, most cigarettes. So I'm surprised to see that they have a market for smoking-related products, because I would have thought they're so cheap here in Japan that why would people buy these counterfeit ones when it's already cheap buying them? I can understand in the UK why people are buying, and this is a big problem in Japan, the UK, people buying counterfeit cigarettes, because the price is just so high that if people are smoking, they almost like, yeah, fine, I'll take a chance on that, that's fine. And you get a lot of people smoking counterfeit or not branded cigarettes when they should be, because who knows what's in those. But I found that story interesting. Next news story for you is I think I'm just gonna do one more story because we're getting long today. We'll do this the last one. This is gonna be the last one for today. We've got Japan startup targets a June 6th moon landing. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be boots on the ground, which I'm gutted. I want more stories of people going to the moon and experiencing it. But Japanese startup is set to target a June 6th touchdown for its moon lander, following the success of its rocket called Rideshare Buddy, where they are just putting, I don't know, some sort of tech onto the ground in the moon, some sort of surveying stuff, but not real people. Very sad. I want to see more people on the moon. When was the last time In fact, that's a good question. When was the last time someone was at the moon? When was the last time people went to the moon? Let's have a look. 1972. Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's getting up to 60 years. That's amazing. Get people on there, Japan. Come on, shoot them up. I will say on the articles from it. By the way, this is not like Japan itself. This is a private Japanese startup. And in the comments, people are being like, "Oh, I wish Japan would stop spending money on useless things that we're not doing it." This is a startup. This isn't the government. If a private company wants to shoot for the moon, let them shoot for the moon. That's fantastic, I think. But I hope something will come from this. I really, really do. But who knows? Would you like to see people in space? I especially would like to see people in space who aren't involved with Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Just some normal scientists. Why does there have to be billionaires involved? I get it. The space travel is extraordinarily expensive, but I don't want these two involved in it. It almost feels like they're spoiling such a great accomplishment. And the fact that they are almost claiming that like it's their company, they've done this, and it's like, no, you had what? I don't know, thousands of different workers who put this all together. You were at the top. By the way, how much time you actually involved in these companies? You probably turn up for a shareholders meeting and that's it. I don't want to. Don't spoil it. Don't take it away from the world. It's just not cool. But that's the end of the podcast for today. Sorry, it's a little bit mixed and up and down and going whatever. The fire alarm sort of threw me off a little bit, but that's it for today. We're just what's been going on with me. Not too much. I went to Nagasaki this weekend. Had an absolutely fantastic time. Ate some amazing food. I really, really did. Oh, I put up one video. I put up the the foreigners in Japan getting stopped by the police and asked questions. Man, what a different range of opinions, which I was surprised to get. You're ranging from people telling their stories of like living in Japan, being stopped by the police, being racially abused, and then you just get the other comments which are like, yes, they should stop everyone in Japan should be stopped. And it's like, wow, really? I mean, this is the funny thing. I was in trying to find a restaurant in Nagasaki, and it's really weird that I wanted to eat Chinese food, and Chinatown in Nagasaki, it like closes at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We were going in just before 8 and being told like, oh, by the way, your last order is in like 10 minutes, and then we sort of expect you out by like 8:30, 8:40. And I was like, well, I don't want to eat here then. I'm not going to be rushed and do that. So we went to a restaurant, and it was a izakaya, and everyone in there working in the restaurant was not Japanese. And I was just seeing these comments coming in of like, oh, foreigners are bad. Everyone in Japan, the foreigners are bad. And I was just like, where are you going? I was like, you need to go outside. Every foreign person that I've met in Japan has been pretty much nice. They've been good. They're doing a service. They're doing this good thing. But everyone was saying how bad they are. And it's like, stop reading the news. Go outside, meet people. I was very, very, very surprised at it. And then there's also the other ones that think Japan is this perfect utopia, that there's no crime whatsoever. And I found that even more funnier because the whole podcast, that one especially, was it that one? I'm pretty sure it was that podcast where I was reading out after that story like 10 other different crimes committed, all by Japanese people. And then the comments were like, yeah, all the crime in Japan is committed by foreigners. And the funny thing is I can see on the stats that after that foreign story ended, a load of people stopped watching. And I was like, how can you say that Japan is the worst, that all the foreigners commit the crime? Did you not see the infinite stories that I read after about Japanese crimes? I was like, oh, listen to all of it. Don't just listen to 5 minutes of it. But this is the problem. I mean, this is from a guy who reads an article for 5 minutes, makes a video about it, and says that I'm an expert in Japan. I'm not an expert in Japan at all. I read the news. I give my opinion on it. Oh, I've read the news story and that's it. And sometimes I've even skimmed the news story. So don't take my word for gospel. I'm an absolute idiot when it comes to reading the news. I can't even read properly. Did you hear me try and pronounce the name of that backpack earlier? I couldn't even get it right. But oh man, I know one thing. I go outside and I meet people and I don't let these news stories affect my opinion of what is actually going wrong, because what the news report and what is actually happening, two very different things. Go outside, meet people, then make your own opinions on what's going on. Don't just read the news. You get the worst opinions. Now every news story is designed to be clickbaited so that you feel a certain way about it. You're either in one side or another side, and oh man, it's not fun. It's not fun. But I went to Nagasaki. That's the end of my rant on that. We'll probably get another one on this video or something, but we'll see. Went to Nagasaki this weekend, had a fantastic time. Food was fantastic. Company is fantastic. It was all fantastic. I had a lovely, lovely time. Nagasaki is a great city. If you get a chance to come to it, certainly do. Apart from the Chinatown, I was gutted. I couldn't believe it was closing so early. But I went to a fantastic izakaya restaurant, ate some fantastic food, drank some fantastic lemon sours. That is my Japanese drink, which I never drank before coming here. And I haven't seen them much in the UK, so if I move back at some point or move to another country, I'm going to miss those. They are delicious. Lemon sour. Oh, baby, that is good. And the izakaya I went to, they had 4 different types of lemon sours, and I tried them all. And always the worst thing that happens. The one that I had at the beginning was the best one, and then they just got progressively like different flavors. And even on the last one was sugar-free, and I was like, well, I know that's not going to be good because it's like a sugar-free thing. And I went, shall I try it? And I was like, oh, I've had the 3. I was like, I've got to do the set. I've got to do all of them. So I have that one. It's kind of okay. It's a little bit more sour than the other ones. A lot more like let that sourness off the lemon coming in. But overall, fantastic trip. Nagasaki, you are a beautiful city, and how I wish to this day I was in Nagasaki city every day, because it's beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful food. I appreciate it so much every time I get to go there. I really do. And the way it's laid out, all the houses on the mountains, it's probably one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever been to. Where else do I think is really nice? I think Busan is another city where they have all these houses in mountains, and when you look in the right place, it just looks fantastic. Was Brazil? Where was it? Might have been. Is it somewhere in Portugal? So another city in Portugal I went to that was really. I don't know. It wasn't Brazil. Not I was thinking about Barcelona. No. Yeah. One of the most beautiful cities in the world. Really, really is. If you get to come, Nagasaki, pretty city. But that's the end of this podcast. I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much for watching. Have an absolutely fantastic day. I hope your day is not interrupted by fire sirens, or if it is interrupted by a fire siren, it's not near your house and it's somewhere very, very far away. So have an absolutely fantastic rest of the day, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.